It's around 3,500 years ago. You're sitting inside a mud brick house somewhere along the Nile River, and your teeth hurt. Not because dentistry doesn't exist yet, it does actually, but because what you've been using to clean your teeth every morning is a frayed twig, and it's only doing so much. You snap off a fresh one from the tree outside, chew the end until the fibers split apart like a tiny brush, and get to work. This is the first chew stick, and it is, as far as we can tell, humanity's first real attempt at dental hygiene. Nobody invented it in a lab. Nobody applied for a patent. Someone somewhere just noticed that chewing on certain twigs left their mouth feeling cleaner, and the idea spread. Today, we brush our teeth with nylon brushes, fluoride toothpaste, and electric motors spinning at 30,000 rotations per minute. But the story of how we got there is stranger, messier, and far more interesting than most people ever think about. This is the history of the toothbrush and the long, complicated relationship between humans and their teeth. Let's go back even further. Around 5,000 years ago, ancient Egyptians and Babylonians were already thinking seriously about oral hygiene. Archaeological digs have uncovered chew sticks in Egyptian tombs, thin twigs from trees like the Salvadora persisca, which we now know contain natural antibacterial compounds. They weren't just chewing on random sticks. Whether they knew it scientifically or not, they had found a plant that actually helped. In fact, the Salvadora persisca stick, also called the miswak, is still used today across parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. 3,000 years of consistent use. Meanwhile, other ancient civilizations were developing their own approaches. Greeks and Romans mixed tooth powders from crushed bones, oyster shells, charcoal, and tree bark and rubbed them on their teeth with their fingers or a rough cloth. It sounds unpleasant. It probably was, but it worked better than nothing, and for thousands of years, nothing was the main alternative. Then something changed. It's the Tang Dynasty in China, roughly 1,400 years ago, and someone makes a decision that will quietly reshape dental hygiene for the entire world. They take a short handle made from bamboo or animal bone and attach a small cluster of stiff hog bristles to one end. The first true toothbrush. It looks, in basic concept, almost identical to what you probably have sitting next to your sink right now. The design spread slowly along trade routes from China to the Islamic world and eventually into Europe, where it arrived sometime in the 17th century. Europeans, however, found hog bristles too stiff and harsh. Many preferred horsehair instead and continued using cloth in their fingers. Progress in dental hygiene, it turns out, has never moved in a straight line. Now here's a story that sounds like it was made up, but wasn't. In 1770 in London, a man named William Addis is sitting in a prison cell. He was locked up for causing a riot. The details are not particularly flattering, but sitting in his cell, he became fixated on a problem. The standard method for cleaning teeth at the time was to rub them with a rag dipped in soot or salt. Addis thought there had to be a better way. He saved a small bone from his dinner, drilled holes in it, got some bristles from a prison guard, tied them in tufts, and pushed them through the holes with glue. When he got out of prison, he started manufacturing them. By the time he died, he was wealthy. His company survived for over 200 years. The modern toothbrush industry was founded by a man who invented it in jail out of a beef bone and a bored afternoon. For most of the 1800s, toothbrushes were still a luxury item. They were expensive, not widely available, and not particularly common in ordinary households. In fact, it wasn't until World War II that brushing your teeth became a genuine daily habit for most Americans. American soldiers were required to brush their teeth every day as part of military regulations. When they came home, the habit came with them, and the toothbrush became a permanent fixture in the American bathroom. A world war accidentally solved a public dental hygiene problem. Then, in 1938, the DuPont company introduced something that changed everything: the nylon toothbrush. Nylon bristles were softer, more durable, cheaper to produce, and didn't absorb bacteria the way animal hair did. Within a decade, they had replaced natural bristles almost entirely. And in 1954, the first electric toothbrush appeared, invented in Switzerland, initially designed for patients with limited motor control who struggled to brush manually. Within years, it became a consumer product. Within decades, it became an industry of its own. But here's something worth sitting with. For most of human history, tooth decay was not nearly as common as it is today. Ancient skulls show surprisingly little of the severe tooth decay we now consider normal, not because ancient people had better dental hygiene, but because they had almost no refined sugar in their diet. Sugar is what feeds the bacteria that cause decay, and refined sugar at the scale we consume it today is a very recent invention. In other words, the reason we need to brush our teeth twice a day with fluoride toothpaste is largely because of what the modern food industry put into our diets in the first place. The toothbrush didn't just respond to a problem that always existed. In some ways, modern life created the problem that made the modern toothbrush necessary. From a frayed twig on the banks of the Nile, to a prison cell in London, to a World War II regulation, to a nylon bristle spinning at 30,000 rotations per minute, the humble toothbrush has quietly followed human civilization every step of the way, solving a problem we kept making worse for ourselves. So next time you stand half asleep at your bathroom sink in the morning, just remember, you're continuing a habit that started somewhere along the Nile 3,500 years ago. Subscribe if you want to keep finding the strange history hiding inside the everyday things you never think twice about.